I can't believe it. I don't want it. I don't want it.
Myron! You're never going back. All right, great. All right, tradition one. I have a tradition I would love you guys to see that maybe you haven't seen before. Follow me, Casey. I'm going to show you something a little special back here. Come, come, come. Come, come, come. Jesus. If you get close to that thing, I will stop you guys to see that. All right, come, come. Okay. Come, you're almost there. It's a great tradition we can do. Casey being Mirandering on the stage. Great. All right, we're looking right in the back here.
Sorry.
Hurry now. You see this, Casey? That's an empty slot on the back of the Aegis of Immortality. It will be filled by the end of the day. It will be a magical time, and someone will take it home. I cannot wait. Are you excited for Grand Finals, girl?
I can't even wait. I keep going back and forth on who I want to win. I think I'm going to be pleased no matter what, but I can't stop thinking about touching the Aegis. So can I just give it a quick...
No, that's for champions only, Casey. No, you cannot do that. So please stay there. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining us here at the International Tent. Stop it! And we will see you very soon. Have a good one, guys. Enjoy the Grand Finals. Bye.
Thank you so much. I'm glad the tradition of showing Myron on camera has been re-established for TI10. Myron, you're an absolute legend, mate. I'll see you on the sidelines later. All right, then. If you would like to sport some fancy TI10 threads, then head to theinternational.wearenations.com because the secret shop is now open. So get them threads before they are gone. Just like I'm going to get a load of Tsunami and his knowledge before he's gone. Tsunami, what have you got for us this morning?
Trying to get rid of me, Frankie? Who said that I'm going
Never,
anywhere?
I'm putting you in my suitcase.
Okay, perfect. Let's go. I can fit in a carry-on generally. Welcome, everyone, to another exhibition of a little bit of imbalance. I would like to warn any support viewers, this is graphic content. Viewer discretion is advised. You see a winter wyvern, and then you don't. Yeah, we saw this game one, LGD versus Team Secret yesterday, and we were learning a great deal about heroes, items, damage. We learned that a wolf-bitten, double-damage Tiny can take a winter wyvern from that to that. First you see her, then you don't. It's concerning, and I'm sure you're wondering, how did we get to this point? Well, there are a variety of reasons, obviously. Wolf-bitten, that's one big buff. Double damage, that's one big buff. But there is some itemization that is also key to making Tiny so popular right now in this tournament. This was LGD's lineup, and there is one item in particular that I find is been quite concerning recently throughout the International, and 7.30 in general. And it's this one right here in the top, the Silver Edge. Not really that popular of an item before now. 7.30 brought some buffs, and I'm sure you're wondering what changed about it. Back in the day, I only got this item whenever I was trying to get a break mechanic on somebody. Now, it's proven to be quite a slot-efficient damage item for carries. So, what changed? 7.30 suddenly gave it a Crystallis component instead of an Oblivion Staff. Also made it cheaper as well. And if you know carries, you know that they love slot efficiency items. That's why things like spider legs were so important back in the day before it got nerfed, because you were like, oh, I have a 6th slot now. I don't need boots anymore. As a result of this change, things have been going up for the Silver Edge. Throughout the DPC Season 2, the entire Season 2, upper division and lower division, there were only 33 Silver Edge pickups throughout the entire thing, all regions. That's a 0.35% pickup rate. Meanwhile, at TI10, one patch later, we already have 134 pickups and a 7.24% pickup rate. It's part of the reason why you're probably seeing a lot of this emote in the chat every single time that you see a Tiny or a Shadow Fiend, Lena, Sven, Slark, CK. It's a little out of control. So I recommend you go into your pubs, start taking advantage of the item now, because chances are it's probably going to get nerfed by the time Marcy comes out. We'll have just to see and find out afterwards. Back to you, Frankie.
Oh, all right then. So basically, get Silver Edge while you can. Effie, you a fan of this item build?
Definitely. When the patch first came out, I think the first tournament that happened was ESL 1 Fall, and what we expected was generally any hero that builds Silver Edge will be the popular hero, and most teams were actually doing that with Kunkka for some reason, right? The first hero that came to mind because he would naturally buy it anyway. And they thought to themselves, okay, he must be broken. And a lot of teams tried him out, and I think he lost maybe 10 games in that tournament. So as the meta developed and progressed, people found that it was actually best on carry heroes and heroes like Tiny who can just hit once and do a bajillion damage, right? And I honestly think this is the strongest DPS item right now. Any hero that can build it is the most viable in this patch, with the exception of some support heroes that are viable just because.
And it's not just like that burst damage, it's also the fact that it builds into an invis item. So it like lets you fish for kills. You can like just look for solo kills as a carry. That's always been Shadowblade's strength, that you can see them before they see you. It gives you opportunities to have the best possible fight. It's a vision item as well. So it covers both bases. It gives you damage, it gives you burst damage, it gives you escape sometimes, you know, invincibility, and then also those pickoffs that we see from Tinies.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. They, said it nicely. Got nothing more to add. Maybe play a couple more games before it gets nerfed. That's all. Watch the TI when it ends. Click play Dota, and get a couple of games. To go back a bit to Silver Edge, I thought we were gonna see a bit more of a Spectre being picked up at the tournament, but I guess the Silver Edge can be built from the multiple cores we see it on the mid lane, as you mentioned, and the safe lane. Sometimes even the off laners tend to get it, so it's very hard to play against Spectre. In one game, I believe there were 2 Silver Edges against Spectre, so kind of hard.
Yeah, Spectre looked good in the group stage at various points, but it's like more gank heavy, and yeah, there's just counters. It typically loses the lane a bit. There's just better heroes, it seems like, in the patch, but it's a strong hero.
Don't be mean about Spectre, because our stats master Leah, Spectre is his favorite character. So we have to be very nice about Spectre, because otherwise we won't get no more stats. But we have got a lot of action coming up on the final day of TI 10. So let's take a look at the schedule. We're kicking off with Team Spirit versus Team Secret in our lower bracket final. The winner will go on to face LGD in our grand final. That's going to be a sweet, sweet best of 5. But will it be clean, or will we see some reversals from either of the teams? You're going to have to wait to find out. And also, sandwiched like some lovely quality jam, we're also going to have an all-stars match between those two. Sorry, I know it's hashtag a bit soon, Effie. But it's going to be Team Gollum versus the Eastern European team, Team Thunderhide, who you saw whooping the Dragons on stage last night. I do want to ask your thoughts on Gollum, because we're familiar with a few players. We've got Sheepo, aka Sheepstick. We've got Blitz as well, I think.
I believe in them. They came here to play, right? They arrived a few days ago. They're not rusty. They've watched us. They've developed the strategies. They're just going to go dig on, and I think they're going to take them.
Yeah, I talked to Dandy in the van in the morning when we were coming here, and he said, this second match that they're going to play looks a bit more rough for them, because, he saw the names. He's like, man, Blitz, it's going to be a rough one for them. Compared to the previous one, it was a walk in the park.
It's going to be...
It was pretty close, to be fair. It was like 3 lives left for them.
It was close. And then Brian got techies.
Brian got every hero and complained about it. I was like, is this guy random? Like, what's going on?
Me and Fog were commenting, while the show match was happening, and that's the thing we noticed, except when he got, I believe it was Shadow Shaman, and then he was like, wow, man, I got Shaman. This is a good one. So yeah, maybe less complaining. That's the strat, and maybe talk a bit more during the game. Because Syndra, he said like 2 words every 10, 15 minutes.
But then he got a hero that he was really happy with. So I think he said 3 words.
He got Clockwork. That's like his best hero. Like I've heard him say that a couple of weeks ago. Oh, Clock is probably my best hero. He's like master tier. He lived for a long time. He got a lot of kills, but it's only so much he can do when Brian gets techies and instantly dies.
It sadly wasn't to be, was it? Maybe it was a tactical death, because the mode that they were playing every time they died.
They had a lot of those, a lot of tactical deaths.
Did he plant 1 mine? I didn't see 1 mine get played.
Guys, you're talking to Team Dragon, remember?
Yeah, well, feel free to flame Brian. You're obviously kicking him after this event.
We had a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. We just wanted to kind of run at them nonstop. At some point, I was just placing Vision. I was like, why don't we just play on Vision? Because there's no way they're warding. And then everyone was like, no. Well, we just have to go. So we just ran into Fog and fed over and over. It was so much fun.
The final horn has sounded. We are ready to get Championship Sunday underway. I'm so excited. We're going to be kicking things off with Team Secret versus Team Spirit. And you know what? It'd be great to compare the two of these teams at this year's TI and also see some of their key numbers as well. Because this is, I like the phrase, I'm always going to use it, a David and Goliath matchup. Because Team Secret, they literally have a former TI champion on their ranks, Purge.
They do. It's been a couple of years, but
It's been a decade.
but there's no way that you can talk about Team Spirit without talking about some of their monster success. They've had 3 to 5 month periods where they're just clearly the best team, and it hasn't just happened once. It's happened so many times that it's kind of like the OG effect that you're like, there's a really good chance they're just going to show up and be amazing. This is the first time they've done so good at TI, so certainly they're looking better than normal. But yeah, it's impressive.
But their approach to this competitive season was a bit different than usual. We actually didn't see them play that much, so a lot of people didn't know what to expect out of Secret coming in. And even yesterday when they lost, Poppy looked pretty relaxed. So some of the whispers that I've been hearing are he's got something up his sleeve, he's comfortable, he's confident. But at the same time, I think that, I don't know if this is going to be a hot take, but I think that even if they do beat Spirit here, I don't think they can beat LGD, because I think that the way that LGD have approached the season was kind of the opposite. They just grinded nonstop, and right, different things work for different teams, but it just feels like they're on top of their game, and we've seen them and how consistently they've performed. And we have to keep in mind they've been the most studied team, right?
So let's take a look at the key numbers then. Now you can see Team Spirit, they have got 6 combined TIs. That is literally because Miposhka has 2 and the rest of them have just the 1. Secret, on the other hand, I mean, it's insane. It's insane the amount of talent and experience on this roster that cost.
Team Secret.
Yes, Team Secret.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a very stable team. They have, Puppy monitoring the situation in the back lines, figuring out what's wrong and fixing it. And he always has a couple of aces in his sleeve when it's necessary.
So if you're Team Spirit, are you quaking in your little booties right now? Effie's shaking her head.
No,
absolutely not.
They are not afraid. They are so confident. Like, the run that they've had cannot be anything but that, right? I feel like they've hit their stride and they're going to go into this thinking that they're going to win.
All right, then. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there are just 2 more series before the Aegis is lifted, and both of these teams want to make it through to that grand final. Team Spirit and Team Secret. Team Spirit have continued to defy expectations since a difficult first day of the group stage, powering past more experienced teams with their natural, lethal synergy and lightning-fast mechanical skill. They thrive in dangerous situations and play without fear. But can they keep their fairy tale run going all the way to the grand finals? It is the moment of truth for the boys from Eastern Europe. And here's Team Secret came into this tournament as one of the favorites to lift the Aegis, and you better believe they're ready to meet those expectations. They are led by 10-time TI attendee and former champion Puppy, and they're one of the most dynamic, flexible teams in the world. They are ready for anything, and they're especially ready to win. Can they resist the weight of expectation dragging them down today? Or will they take their rightful place amongst the legends that have come before them? Well, on the Spirit side of things, Captain Miposhka there is ready to take his team into the draft. But before we talk about Team Spirit, let's hear from them.
Наверное, те, кто говорят, что, точнее, фраза, типа, что люди начинают играть в International, это просто можно ее переформулировать, как люди начинают играть эмоциями. Типа, они не особо стараются уже как-то разумно думать, там, рассчитывать и логически что-то продумать. Они больше на эмоции начинают, играть на эмоциях, типа, как-то плюс-минус на автомате, потому что, какое-то волнение и давление, оно все равно всегда присутствует, и люди, у которых не получается с этим хорошо справиться, они на это сильно отвлекаются, и их как бы часть разума затмится, скажем так, и их не получается много времени уделять игре, и как-то в целом просто мысли не складываются, и, соответственно, вот. Короче, как мне кажется, International — это просто тот турнир, где максимально сложно становится сдерживать свои эмоции. Вот. И чем больше ты в этом плане развит, чем лучше в плане контроля своих чувств, эмоций и все такое, тем лучше ты будешь играть. Вот. Если ты сможешь во время игры не просто там типа да-да-да, go, давай этого, а говорить типа про себя, что типа что я должен сделать, кого там прыгнуть, кого убить, кто меня может убить, как мне действовать в драке и прочее. Если вот такие вещи получается проговаривать, а это вот на таких турнирах вообще порой непросто, то я думаю, вот такие вот люди, они и будут добиваться больших результатов на таких турнирах.
It's interesting hearing Miposhka talk about emotions there, because yesterday, talking to Mira in the post-game interview, I asked about how they reacted to the Yutoro rampage, his second of the entire tournament. And Mira said that basically they were all celebrating, and Miposhka said, guys, we still haven't won yet. And I think that's one of the things about Miposhka that people don't realize. It's obviously not just about what he's bringing to the field. It's also the fact that he's got a wiser, mature head on his shoulders. You could say he's 24. I mean, their youngest player, Yutoro, is just 18 years old. And he's leading them so well, way beyond expectations. However, I do want to talk about him, particularly his Bane. You know what? We've got Yutoro on screen. He's shaved his head off. We'll talk about Miposhka in a bit. We've got Yutoro here. He has played 19 different heroes here at TI. 12 unique heroes in the 12 main event games. This is insane, particularly the Drow Ranger purge.
Yeah, it looked a little bit weak in early stages of the game, as Drow Ranger typically does, but in later stages, she can be really effective due to cutting through base armor, kind of similar to that ET effect. And Yutoro's clearly been the most impressive. Like 2 rampages at main stage when there's only been 4 in history ever. He's got like a 1 out of 6 chance of getting a rampage. And when you get a rampage, kill the whole team, that's a lot of gold advantage. Normally, you don't see teams win fights that soundly. So he's been playing great.
And I am wondering, is this man out-draftable? Well, we're soon going to find out, because we're heading to the draft panel momentarily as we get this underway.
Team Spirit versus Team Secret. Game 1.
Welcome to the first draft of the day. It's Team Spirit versus Team Secret. We have a angel lineup here of Jenkins, BSJ, and Avoplus to analyze this draft. How are you, my gentlemen? Great. Fantastic. Great. Now we have a draft, but before we get into it, I want to ask for expectations from this game. BSJ.
High tempo on both sides. That's what I'm looking for. Low cooldown, all run at you brawl. I think the only longest cooldown we'll see here is Tidehunter, potentially. That was Jenkins' courageous pick. I
believe Tidehunter will receive a pick or a ban, and if Team Secret don't ban it, it will be Spirit's first choice.
Okay.
What about Mars?
Because of Collapse?
No. Yep, because of Collapse. It's their favorite guy. I know people like to see Collapse on something that's cooler, something that's more high skill, let's say, but it's been a classic for them throughout this tournament. They've kind of rested their hopes and dreams on the shoulders of this Tidehunter, and it's worked out for them. But so has the Mars. The Collapse Mars with the armlet, with the hitting the spears, no Blink Dagger, that looked really great as well.
With viewers that have missed other days, haven't seen the grace of Tidehunter, BSJ, can you tell us why he's such a great hero?
Teamfight always comes into play at TI, and Tidehunter is just the easiest hero to execute. The Kraken Shell makes it almost impossible to burst you down. We're seeing specific lineups and specific combos that are crafted just to remove that. And yesterday we saw like a Silver Edge, Tiny, we've seen that deal with it. We've seen Disruptors, Dooms, PA got picked exclusively for the Fan of Knives Ag Shard purchase that Team Spirit did. That was a way they bursted down the tide. Just a crucial hero in this meta that simplifies your game plan.
And there's another hero that we've been seeing a lot, Magnus.
Yeah, this is a great one. We've talked about it a lot. We've talked about it with Seb and all the pro players that have been here. And the biggest theory around Magnus is that during TI, team fighting is incredibly important. BKBs are incredibly important. Magnus is great at dealing with both of those things because of reverse polarity. But probably the biggest thing is the fact that if you have this kind of structured, you're standing on a high ground, you're just like playing with this formation, Magnus just breaks it. He just goes in there, tosses you up with his horn, and then skewers you 20,000 feet away. And it's like, good luck holding a formation when you're in the enemy fountain.
That's true. We heard the counter to it is Yule Scepters as well as Force Staffs. That's the way, if you Force Staff or any forced movement on Mag, when he skewers, it will cancel the skewer effectively, and whoever's getting skewered will stop moving. So we have to keep an eye out for that as a way for Team Spirit to prevent what we saw happen to OG, where Sumail started sieging the tier 3s, and suddenly he's in the fountain.
Ended up in the fountain. Yeah, that was rough. The cooldown is really like the big thing for me, where Mag is in and out and in and out. It's like, so you start off this chaotic fight by breaking the formation, and then because your formation is broken, it's like, it gives the Magnus a second opportunity to skewer you into an even worse position because this chaotic fight has started, and Magnus just loves chaos.
Here, Team Spirit goes for an emblematic combo, Io plus Mars. Purge made a whole segment about these combos, how strong it is, how they win lanes with this. And it's not going to be Jenkins' type, but it's going to actually be the Mars instead.
Yeah, the nice thing about the Io is most of the offlaners that have been building Armlet have some sort of innate sustain, such as the Legion Commander, and it didn't really seem like a viable build on Mars. The reason why Armlet's being picked up so much is it's been buffed several times. It's 75 damage for any strength hero when it's activated, and the Io allows the Mars to actually use it, and they've been putting a lot of pressure on the tower. With that, taking it really early, something Mars doesn't always do, and you also have a built-in crit with your Bulwark, or God's Rebuke, excuse me.
And the like infinite sustain too with Mars. I remember like one of the best ways to win a lane on Mars, and the reason that like at least when it was first added to the game, people were like, this hero doesn't lose lanes, even to get something that's a lane dominator like Elder Titan, like Slark, like Ursa, these sorts of heroes that just punch you and lane dominate you. You have 2 nukes. You just spam your nukes with regen, and so people were building a bottle back then against these counters, and the IO just makes it so that you don't need any regen. So you've got that combo in the laning stage. It also means the Mars has the mobility so you can build into the armlet. You have the sustain so you can build into the armlet. And what do you want with an IO? You want a hero that can set up a team fight somewhere for you on the other side of the map. So if they pick a carry with this, Mars can set up with his ult into Spear, and then IO can relocate the carry in, and all of a sudden you've got this huge disruptive team fight, which IO loves.
Yeah, you were mentioning the Tide coming into this series, and the thing about Mars is the way Collapse adapted it is he kind of turns into a Tide. Like he doesn't rely on the blink, surprise, Yule, like, spears. He's more of a guy. I'm walk in, I dare you to go on me. If you don't go on me, we take control of this area, whether it's Roche or the Triangle.
Yeah,
and if you do go on me,
item.
he just arenas because he's so tanky, and suddenly you're trapped in there with him. So it's like a pseudo stun, more of a crowd control that lasts much longer than most ultimates.
He was being so patient with the Mars ults yesterday, and I was really impressed by that, just because I feel like traditionally, and I know it's a relatively new hero, but for the hero's entire existence, it's the initiation. You start with the Mars ult. It's not this thing that you hold off on like the Tidehunter ulti. But that's also how Tide started. Tide was an initiator. You call Tide an initiator these days, you sound like an idiot. It's a counter initiator. You wait for a fight to start, then you hit a big Ravage. And so Collapse is kind of doing that with the Mars ulti as well.
Yeah, we've seen actually this transition in a couple other heroes. Legion Commander was in the same pool of by Blink First. People realized Blink First pretty bad. You need stats. Now we're seeing Armlet Legion. Before we're seeing Pipe as well. So it's maybe that's just the best offlaner to play, really. A third core, not just someone that can go in and stun someone.
Yeah, I think at the very least, having that in your toolbox for what you can do on the hero and knowing when you can do it like that. So like you can obviously still play Mars as an initiator, Tidehunter as well. We've seen blinks into Ravages on literally just a solo carry. So you're effectively, it's like at that point it's a lion stun. Which sounds terrible for like a 200-second cooldown ability or whatever.
But you need to.
But sometimes that's what you have to do. And so having these different options available to you is what makes a hero stronger as the game progresses and people get better.
Let's talk about a different hero here, the ET, also a very popular pick. Thoughts on this with the ET Magnus? We have seen ET kind of carry games with this Empower plus the Cleave talent.
Yeah, I think the difference between ET and what we saw yesterday when Team Spirit ran Mars IO against IG was the IG had an Abaddon 5, which is a support that to do his job has to be right next to everybody because all of his abilities are really low cast range. So I think the ET is not only good for all the reasons ET is already really good, but the fact that Mars Arena probably isn't going to trap him. He's not going to get caught if he eventually gets an Ags, gets played as a 4 position maybe.
You just ult into it
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, you can cast all your spells from outside of it, so it shouldn't affect him at all, which makes the pick even better.
I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but this is something that maybe this is because I'm like a bad ET player, but I noticed that people are using the ET ult at like max range now, so that way the moment that splitter hits you, it pops, and so it's catching people. Like they're using it with setups.
Yes.
Whereas before, I remember it used to be like ETs would kind of walk into melee range and then ult, and then it was this like slow thing that you had to have setup for. Speaking of setup, that's a good hero.
Crazy. We have not seen this hero much. We have not seen much success on this hero at all. Only small buffs, like the dual breath, for example, cast point got buffed. Now it's harder for Rubik to counter it.
The Liquid Fire also got buffed, though.
Yeah, Liquid Fire got
pretty
small buffs.
significantly.
This was an unplayed hero until now. This is literally just an unplayed hero.
During the main event, because it was definitely picked in the group.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry, for the last week. So yeah, during the main event.
Okay.
And so
And then there's the Rubik counter.
There's the Rubik counter.
There it is.
That's funny. Okay. Yeah, it's such a good hero to, and another really like low played hero is the Rubik, at least in the main event. And so it's a great hero to steal a bunch of spells from. You've got a stun, you know, if you steal the Macro Pyre, you got like the extra range on it, the extra damage on it.
You want to steal Ice Path, though. That's
Ice Path is like, yeah, that is the creme de la creme of spells. But Jakiro, I really do think the buff to the Q and it being such a low cast point is a huge upgrade. I remember talking to like Owie after the hero got changed, and he was like, yeah, I think like Jakiro's an offlaner now. Like Jakiro's good enough that you can play it in the offlane.
Mage Slayer.
Just because of that buff. Yeah, Mage Slayer. Honestly, even Dragon Lance or something that. And his what is the tower damage? Liquid Fire. Liquid Fire is a lot of damage at level 1 too. Like it does a ton now. So you can actually siege with this hero as well from a 5 position.
Yeah, the Storm is necessary for Team Spirit's lineup as the Jakiro, usually they'll pick something like Disruptor or Bane from a Poshka here, but instead, since they don't have as much setup for the relocate, the Mars is most likely going to be with the IO for the early portion of the game. You do need a mid laner that's going to be that setup. Storm Spirit's been the best one so far this tournament, I think, especially for Toronto, Tokyo. The Terrorblade, really nice lane matchup against the Mars. You can eventually tank the spear with your illusions. The spear will do damage to multiple targets, but it'll only impale one target. So you can tank those in the early laning stage, and then also Terrorblade's like a pseudo ranged hero in the laning phase. So ET front lines for you. You'll be able to hit a lot more on the Metamorphosis. But they're super greedy on Team Spirit. On Team Secret. You have Magnus Terrorblade. That's a pretty weak mid game.
Big damage though, huge late game damage, like borderline unbeatable just because of the Empower buff on top of the TB base damage. I actually don't mind the idea on Spirit of
Team Secret's turn to ban.
And also wants to right-click you, so you've got the attack slow with the Jakiro spell, as well as tons of magic damage, right? So maybe they'll do that, but we've fought that before with some IO combination, and then teams just don't like to break up the IO from whatever the pairing is, whether it's Slaughter or Mars.
Spirit especially. I want to point out though that this is a TB that's picked into a Storm and a Jakiro, so a fair amount of magical damage in that mid game. Not too difficult to burst them down, and this could play into BSJ's point about it being quite greedy. There's going to be a power spike for Team Spirit that's kind of hard to deal with for Secret right now.
Yeah, I'm wondering about their carry matchup because Terrorblade ET covers a lot of heroes. Usually you want like a melee a strength hero that buys armor against ET because he only removes base armor, but then those heroes like Sven are pretty bad versus the Terrorblade in a 1v1.
Really? Because some teams had the theory months ago that was the Sven was actually the
that was the patch that Sven was like completely busted as well.
Ursa's banned, Monkey King's banned, Tiny's banned.
Troll looks like the best hero for me from Team Spirit that's left.
Troll Jakiro sounds insanely strong against like literally anything you can put in the offlane. Like you would basically need a purge hero, but it's Team Secret's pick, so that's not you're not going to get that unless you're preempting the troll.
They might go for the Quap. Oh no, they banned the Quap. How about Lena? Something to lane dominate the storm.
That makes sense.
Okay, of course.
So they go for like the game counter, and that like does fine in the lane because you just nuke it out, and then the game counters, you have the Yule Scepter to catch the storm.
And it's gonna be a Spectre.
Now select your heroes.
It does fulfill a couple of the things you're talking about. Not the most agi carry per se. The armor is not what makes Spectre strong. She still has her passives, and even though her core to core against TB is bad, she can avoid him in fights.
They also have a lot of jump and magic burst on the side of Team Spirit. And it wasn't, if it's not quite enough to bring down a Terrorblade, suddenly he's going to get that Sunder, turn the entire fight. The Spectre offers that little bit of extra damage with the Ags that now cast the dagger, so it's an extra 300 damage coming in from the Spectre. They rely completely on map control in Team Spirit, and it's going to come down to Collapse because Storm, Spectre, super greedy in the laning stage, and we saw yesterday that Collapse was able to get them through that early to mid game, so that's what I'm looking out for here.
Yeah, I agree. I think Spirit wants to make sure that they're shutting down the Terrorblade because they have good ways of mitigating the Terrorblade and not taking damage from him, like the Mars Bolt Mark, for example, but they don't have great ways of killing him once he gets like the Satanic Saudi sort of thing. So like once he has those items, I could see Team Secret completely popping off, but Team Spirit wants to pop off in the laning stage and with the rotations around the map as opposed to just like in team fights.
So there's going to be a small window opportunity for Spirit to be able to pop off and destroy Secret before they can get
Definitely, and Secret just wants to farm their own side of the map.
25 to 40 minutes is all Spirit, and I think as you go on from there, Team Secret will take it.
I don't even need to send it to you for the last word. Now I got it already for free.
There you go, easy.
That's incredible. All right, so what can Secret do to prevent this early pop-off? What's their best bet?
I really do think it's holding their one tower. You got Mag, you got Terrorblade. You just need space on the map to farm. But we saw the Collapse Armlet Mars. We have the Jakiro coming into play. I think if you can pick on Toronto, Tokyo, and perhaps Yatoro, it'll make them have to commit resources on the side of Team Spirit in order to protect them rather than be on the aggressive. And I think that's the best way they can do it.
A lot's riding on Nisha because he's like the only active hero in the early game. Even the supports are not so active. They're good +1s. Like they're good at running at with Nisha, but Nisha is like the absolute baseline for everything Team Secret wants to do.
And now we're going to send him not to the last one, but it is going to be to Silent. This is Action Slack is standing there with Team Spirit's coach. Tell us about their draft.
Prepare for battle.
Dude, I love this game so much, man.
Thank you very much. Slack, Secret versus Team Spirit, game one of this lower bracket finals of TI10. Cinderin, welcome. Surprised to see you here.
Yeah.
What's up?
Just a surprise to see you here, if not more. But here we are.
Normally.
This will be a great series, of course. So much on the line here for both teams, and I think, you know, we like to talk a little bit about the mental game in situations like this. I think for Team Spirit, you've kind of exceeded expectations. Teams like those are really dangerous in this position because Team Spirit kind of, in a way, have nothing to lose, right? I think going into the tournament, if you asked them, hey, would you guys want to take third place and not play, they would have said yes in a heartbeat, right? Because it's like the field is so competitive, and getting that position for their team was already incredible. So now everything is just icing on top, and they're just going further and further in this. It's reminding you of certain runs from previous previous events at TI, right? Like TI6 with DC, with TI8 OG going the whole way. You know, teams that people didn't necessarily think were even gonna make top 8, right?
Yeah.
And suddenly you find
to
yourself in this
give Team
position.
Spirit some credit, like DC, we were picked to be like 12th range. OG, by some people, were picked to be last. Spirit, people thought they would be in the middle, probably like 8. I think I picked them 6th coming in because I really like the way that they play. But yeah, you're right. Either way, still the underdog mentality. I'm sure they have that chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
But kind of what the panel has talked about so much before, that such a young lineup overall that just makes it really exciting for the future for the Eastern European region in general.
And then on the other side, you have Spirit, who kind of, you know, TI has almost been a kryptonite in a way, and it's weird to say because this team has had so many LAN victories across the previous years and just looked dominant year after year in so many tournaments, and TI has just not been it.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm trying to remember, I think at TI6 they got 13 to 16, and then they've like taken one step up the ladder every year, and now it looks like finally it could be within reach, and that can be both, you know, can both put some pressure on you that you feel so close, and at the same time probably also a bit of relief that finally this year for Puppy things are just clicking with the squad. They're looking like a very hot contender for the whole thing. We've got to get through Team Spirit first. And Spirit, like they talked about, have some of their trademark heroes here with Collapse on Mars. I believe I saw a stat the other day from the Haas on Twitter that Mars Collapse was 6-2 with Mars, and every other player at TI combined was 7-25 outside of him.
It
so
doesn't surprise me. We've
that's
talked about
pretty
how
incredible.
This hero has just fallen off so much since the Animajor, except for Team Spirit. What he does, I mean, by the armor,
now he dies.
In that disgusting form of his, and the right clicks from him, looks like it's going to be enough. So first blood goes the way of Team Secret.
Well, taking full advantage of hitting level 2 first here with the ET and Terrorblade combination, getting the reflection as well as Metamorphosis running. And they will take that. It's a nice start for Puppy. In the mid lane, Nisha is going up against Toronto Tokyo. Void Storm, I think this is a pretty even lane. Nisha's been looking incredible in lane. He was also doing great against Nothing to Say in the series yesterday in the upper bracket finals. I think in many ways, maybe together with Somnus, I think perhaps the standout just 1v1 mid laner of the tournament. Somnus obviously running some incredible stats, but unfortunately their team did not place very well. And then finally top lane Sorry, this is a classic lane for Secret to play, the Rubik +1, where both heroes have some sort of wave clear. A lot of the time what we're going to do is just push in the wave with Shockwave as well as Fate Bolt, so that they can try to pull hard camp and prevent the enemy team from pulling small. Both camps have been blocked as far. Push this time's going to leave the big... Wait. It's still inside the camp. Okay. Looked like it wasn't, but it's not going to spawn either.
Well, how about the lineups as a whole? Because Team Secret, they have a lot of team fight. Obviously, the RP, the Earth Split, for them, good Roach. Well, not to kill it as fast as some other lines that we've seen, but counter Roach potential at the very least with a lot of these heroes.
Yeah, neither team is very good at killing it.
Yeah,
that's true. Their lineup is more teamfight centric, whereas I would say Spirit's lineup can do it to an extent with Arena and Hero, as well as Han. Their lineup really thrives on more skirmish style play, on splitting the map and then finding pick, because they do have Relocate, Haunt, as well as Storm. It doesn't get much more than this.
Yep, telekinesis. Into the skewer, back into the frame for the tier 1 tower. Makoshka taking heavy damage. Shockwave keeps him at bay. Yapzor and Zai not able to get a kill there, but see that Matu actually finishes off Collapse again. It's going to be a trade, though. They actually kill each other, technically speaking.
Collapse got the kill first, so I think he's going to be pretty happy with this.
Yeah, wow.
Getting more experience, but Matu is a full level ahead of him as it stands right now, and Puppy as well as Mir have the same experience, so basically full level advantage for Team Secret in that bottom lane. One of the worst starts that Mars.
Yeah.
So gotta be slightly concerning for him. Keep in mind this matchup in the lane, by the way, Mars against Terrorblade, it's pretty interesting because Mars, you know, you have one magic damage component, the spear, but everything else you have is physical, and Terrorblade has so much armor. So he can definitely stand his ground a lot of the time and fight, and he is just, you know, being a bully as well.
In terms of like the mid to late game scope here, Cinderin, how do you like Spectre in a game like this? Obviously, the hero comes on a little faster than, you know, I haven't watched a ton of Dota in the last couple months. historically speaking, more so a late game here, but now you kind of get ramped up a little bit sooner thanks to the Ags that Asumi goes for.
I think it has okay conditions here. I wouldn't say it's an outstanding Spectre game. I think the primary purpose for a large part of the game will be to haunt, to give Storm vision to jump and kill Rubik or ET. I think that's how Spirit opened up the fights. In terms of just a flat-out team fight structure, Spectre does fare very well against Terrorblade, but that's not what Spirit are going for anyway. Bottom line.
Yeah, Mega Step's going to connect from Nisha. That's going to be an easy kill for Secret here. Bot lane Mira still connected with Apps, who, like you said, off to a little bit slower start. But I mean, if this was any other Mars, like, they're actually doing pretty good. Not too bad. Considering this hero is just some, or I guess your win rate more specifically, not doing too hot. Matu 28 and 12 in terms of his actual CS, and 30 and 8 for the chances, Cinder, and another rampage for Yataro in this series.
They're not good, I'll say. I think
based on his percentage, pretty good, right?
Team Spirit's chances of winning the game good, but yeah, Spectre finding a rampage in a game like would be pretty unexpected. There's just
that's not gonna work, by the way. Puppy getting harassed here. Good effort though, Cinder. I just had to correct you.
What's the
Spectable's not a word.
It is now.
Okay. Teaching English to the masses, Cinderin.
There's nothing huge inventing words.
I mean, I agree with that.
Yatoro is going to get run a bit at by Zai and Yapsor, but obviously already got that level 6. So yeah, he's doing great in the safe lane. It's a good condition here. I think Secret aren't too phased it though, because they've also, you know, got what they wanted. Magnus is getting a good start, almost has from the Dominator here, does Zai. And of course their safe lane counterpart doing well too. And let's not forget Empower for a hero like Terrorblade. Yes, he goes into revenge form when he pops Metamorphosis. He'll really high base damage. And that means that based improvement is pretty significant for win fights.
Storm Spirit को दे दिया.
I mean, still obviously really good when he's in melee form too, right? At the pop meta or anything like that, you actually farm at a higher clip than you're used to as a Terrorblade. And Nisha has the haste rune bottled up now. Trying to push out the wave.
59.
More text Toronto Tokyo pressuring a bit, but doesn't have any backup, so likely not to go for a kill here. We'll be getting a deep though. Not worth Nisha, like you said, off to a really good start for him. 600 difference between the mids in terms of just the discrepancy here.
Yeah, that totally comes earlier on, so the Jakiro definitely adds up. Their CS is roughly the same. Nisha does have 10 more denies than Toronto Tokyo, so a bit of a level advantage. Aiming for the bottom rune here. Yaptar's come over as well. But Toronto Tokyo still got the rune, actually. Nisha off the mark with the timing on his Aether Remnant. He's going to be very happy with it. Unfortunately for him, the illusion runes are not exactly what you want. Below a region or an arcane rune, you would imagine. Haste early on could be pretty nice for Storm. Basically anything else.
True. Nisha working on a Yule Scepter for himself. I assume that Toronto Tokyo will end up going for Orchid, but obviously the Yules is going to end up countering that to some degree.
Yeah.
All right, when you can get a Yules and it has multi-purpose, not just for itself, setting up your own Aether Remnant, just such a good pickup this game.
It's a feel-good item for sure. Little detail there from Nisha, by the way. I think he's trying to fish for ward mid.
Radiant's bottom tower is under
one that was
attack.
placed on his half as a result of that. Storm, it's perhaps going to make a move. Toronto Tokyo will be farming up the stacks for now. Has the potential to make a move if you want.
Yeah, that is a pretty juicy stack that he's taking in here.
Radiant's bottom tower
And
is
Toronto
under
Tokyo
attack.
looks like it can most of it, if not all.
Dire
No
are
pressure
scanning.
being set here for Team Secret. So they do have a two-man smoke on the way towards the top lane here, as Nisha ready to try to get some kills now. Starting to ramp things up. Mira not quite level 6, so can't relocate top as of yet. Let's see what the tower defense is going to be for Team Spirit, if any. We've seen some teams just give this up super early. We've seen a lot of contests, more so than in previous patches.
He's kind of baiting Yatoro here to try to go for his creep so that they can get the opener. But we'll be spotted out by the illusion here. I think both Yapsor as well as Nisha might not have been envisioned yet. He's going to try for it.
Doesn't doesn't have mana. He has the wand to be able to haunt successfully.
Radiant's bottom tower
He really wants to. There comes Mira with Toronto Tokyo, but Nisha needs to get out. Looks like he'll do so successfully, at least for now. Kitara continuing to pursue, though. Very hard to catch up to Nisha for sure here, as Toronto Tokyo. Horpy ready to full damage bottled as well, so we'll see if he wants to get active.
I love multi-purpose mid TP.
Now you have a Haunt coming out. Looks like he's going to get dropped by Nisha. Taro in the meantime taking out Puppy, so it's a 1-for-1 on Justice, of course. So in the trees, will likely fall next, although Yataro has something to say about that potentially. Coming in from the downside of the trees here.
Is under attack.
Going for the Aghanim Scepter.
What I might want to do is double
damage. Is going to be a super easy kill at Toronto Tokyo. And now Yataro reciprocating the high five and all, trying to TP out. Oh my god, how much HP did he have? Barely gets out. But still, Secret obviously would have loved to get that kill. Either way, we'll get the Storm Spirit and probably the Tier 1 tower to boot.
Great play. Toronto's RP to come in instantaneously like that, but that just sets things up. You had Yapsor sitting out in the tree line for the extra damage from Fate Bolt, and this is something that Secret have played 100,000 times. The Rubik 4. You can always count on Yapsor to be involved at the right place, the right time. And this is going to put Secret in a very good position right now. 2k gold lead. And effectively not allowing Team Spirit to do what their lineup likes to do at this point in time of the game, right? You ideally want to find some sort of opening with the Storm and Haunt on but Secret were kind of dictating the pace. So Storm CP mids, defend the tower, and okay, Zai.
He's going to skewer to safety for now. Nisha coming from the backside. Looks like they're just going to focus on the Poshka to start things out. Gonna be a relatively easy one for Secret to clean up. Mira having the TP out, will not be able to do so.
Radiant's middle tower
Tokyo on the run with very little mana to speak of. So 2-0 here for Secret. But Toronto Tokyo at the very least gets a regen for his troubles. Collapse, as we can see, has his armlet in Toast, and just buys armlet on every single hero, it feels like. And
on every single Mars.
Every single Mars. No, he buys it. Oh, that was you that bought on Storm Spirit. My bad, buddy.
Dire's top tower.
Hey, that was ARV.
Yeah, true.
I started playing about Midas, and I was like, wait, this game is way too short for Midas. What can I use my Clubs of Haste for?
Yeah.
That
Good
was
choice.
a mistake. I should have just bought like everyone else. Tryhards in a show match. Well, whatever.
Yeah, Dag and Tryhard, no doubt.
It's very good. Like solo. Okay, let's move on.
That's true. That was pretty bad manners for sure. And it's Collapse in the mid lane now. And working toward, I mean, he went Dagger pretty late, I want to say in the last series, but prioritizing a little bit earlier than what we're used to seeing on him. It's still quite a ways away from finishing it. But once they get that, they'll have their initiation in addition to the Haunt and Zippin from Storm.
14-15 minutes the second.
Quite a long time to do this, though.
Almost
doing such a job of pushing out the waves and controlling the flow of the game, both top net worth. Obviously, the Terrorblade has been largely uncontested, partly because of, first of all the action in the top half of the map. Also, he pushed that mid tower earlier with himself and in Metamorphosis form, forces on the TP there to defend that tower and take the DB rune, and then he backed off and farmed. Eventually, that led to Secret winning the fight top because Storm couldn't connect. That, in turn, built up more space for himself later to just be greedy in the jungle. So, like, just kind of a domino effect that he's
under attack.
With a push in mid, make a huge difference. Nice cure from Zai that just getting out.
Is stolen from Yapsor. Very annoying to deal with. Being faked out here. Toronto Tokyo basically uses most of his mana to try to zip away there. Ends up being somewhat of a stalemate here. Team Secret still with a pretty decent lead at the minute mark.
Yeah, it genuinely just feels like Spirit really wants to kill someone and they just can't. The heroes that are being offered up to them, they don't have the most damage in their lineup if they don't all connect together.
Yeah.
And Secret are very tight-knit when it comes to these team moves that they're making. There's always the protection of the ET of the mag. And it's only going to get easier for them when Zai approaches split here very soon, so looking very good for them. Interestingly, for Spirit, top net worth actually currently with Mars.
In the midst of all this chaos, he's trying to run away, but Matu is able to get credit for that kill.
Dire's middle
Also,
tower
Secret
has fallen.
off to quite the good start here. And like you said, Zai not too far away from Blink Dagger. Collapse still like 1,200 away from finishing his. And I feel like the Blue on Collapse plus the Ags on Yatoro are the two, like, that's the power spike that you're probably going to try to get a little bit more aggressive from Team Spirit's perspective.
For sure. My concern for them right now is we've seen a similar strategy to this being run by FG earlier in the tournament. I don't remember the game they actually saw, but I don't know how well this Dire strategy is going to fare from this far behind. If you're basing your strategy off finding these picks and playing quick, and you have 2 kills after 16 minutes, what end up happening is that Secret just get their item timings, group up, take Roach, and then push high ground, and you don't get to play that separation fight whatsoever. Storm Spirit looking for the bottom rune. Will not get it. Goes to read up Nisha, so losing the flip there.
Let me ask you this question. Who do you think more pressure on, team-wise? Secret have all these expectations. They have a lot of veteran players. Team Spirit's kind of YOLOing it to some degree. That's kind of how the DC mentality was at TI6, so I can definitely relate to some degree.
I think that's a thing, Spirit, like that they can just, you know, they can play free. Like we talked about earlier, they've exceeded expectations already, so now, you know, everything is just a bonus and they're just enjoying the ride and they're playing amazingly good Dota for the last couple of days of the main event here. And I feel like the thing about this game for them is they have not had this bad of a start in a single game of the main stage, I think. So you gotta try to find some sort of recovery path. When your team has been used to just having the momentum in all of these games, you're like doing great, you're feeling yourselves, you're making moves, they're just working, and now you're hitting like a brick wall basically 17 minutes in. And here's the play from Secret we were talking about, right? Just group up and take Roach. Like what are Team Spirit really gonna do about this? Nothing, it seems. They probably know what's happening, but aren't in. I mean, this is a pretty slow Roche based on what some of the Roches we've seen. Secret will get it successfully, so that is an Aegis for Matu's. Believe his Scotty here pretty soon. Yeah. Just a point booster away, essentially. I think they might go high ground with that, no joke. If he gets Scotty and they just go push top, perhaps they can look to end the game. They don't have to, obviously. It's not a requirement for their lineup, but they do hit a very, very strong timing soon. Zai with the dagger complete. Maybe you wait for the Ags on Void Spirit, but that might not overlap with your Aegis timer anymore then, because he's like away. We'll see what the choice is for Secret, but for now, still just very calm.
To restore the void within.
Haste goes to Toronto, Tokyo. He does have the Kaisan, so...
And they do have the Blink on Collapse, and they have the Ags on Yatoro.
They want to do something here for sure, and there's the smoke. Maybe so he will the agent. Haste. And Azai Magnus covering on the respawn.
Yep, wrapping around the Roche pit. Looks like Zai, the first
like
one they run into.
Dire's
Christmas songs here. Zai able to blink out to safety. Basically out of mana. Now Zai gets a skewer off the bottom. Gets picked on. There's the big arena coming up. Trying to go on top of Collapse. Finally bring him down. To the post. Looks like the Toronto, Tokyo. Engagement is Nisha. Looks like he's gonna walk away safely. Matu. Use that Aegis. I mean, Nisha in the meantime. Take off Yatoro. That is a really big kill. Just away from his entire team. They're gonna go for the Aegis and then just back off, but couldn't cleanly do so.
Yeah, they couldn't get Spectre out of that trunk in the mid lane. And yeah, effectively what Yatoro ended up doing there was keep the Rubik and Elder Titan at bay for most of the fight, right? But Toronto took.
Nice spear from Collapse. Can they actually bring out Nisha? He gets off the dissimilate Nisha. Another Aether Remnant, buying him some time, but Toronto took gonna get Yules immediately and basically out of mana to speak of. And Nisha, Astral Set now for another 4 seconds, actually trying to get aggressive here. Can they go back in? And they bring them down instantly. Team Secret clicking on all cylinders here.
think it's called firing. Clicking on all
तो
the
अभी तक
buttons.
टीम स्पिरिट को पूरा शट डाउन कर दिया है.
Trying to go for the tier 2 tower here top, Cinderin.
Terror plate starting ही हो गया.
I don't think it's going to get this time around. And yeah, even though Team Spirit do lose a lot in this engagement overall, which is a very extended one of the kind, at the very least the Aegis is down and Secret will probably not force high ground, but the advantage is building. 7,000 gold lead now. It just looks like it's going to keep going up unless Spirit can find, again, some sort of picks.
That combo is actually so sick. Like you said, Matu's in a lot of trouble. So Yutaro jump in, but there comes Zai, gets off this fuel. Toronto Tokyo is more than fine. Sunder on his teammate from Matu, trying to keep himself alive. Yaps are stealing the electrical stick, but Matu attempting to keep it. Will he be able to do so in time? Absolutely. Just no damage coming through. Zai uses the RP on the retreat.
बाप रे पप्पी का डैमेज. उसने collapse दो को पकड़ा है. बत्तीस का बाकी टीम को हरा दिया.
He destroyed Toronto. Gets so much mobility to work with. Assimilate, not on the same time. There comes the Spirit from collapse. The Spirit at least gets something out of this, but they still lose Toronto Tokyo.
I think Nisha wasn't really expecting that to come in and collapse. Obviously extremely confident on his Mars and confident before the dissimulate. So they get a nice extra kill there. Actually a really big streak to end Yotaro getting the 700 bonus gold from killing off the, what was that? Monster kill streak on Nisha. So a little bit of the first good fight really here for Team Spirit.
I didn't even realize their kill count was that low.
Yeah, it was not looking too hot. And it still isn't, but it's first step of the way.
They should be able to pick him up. He's a little bit worse than you would think. Puts that mana going on top of Mira now. Toronto Tokyo picks up Rune, but Mira not able to save here. Makoshka, that is the pig pulse Cinder, and I don't think it's going to save him this time. As Nisha comes in to finish him off. He does have the Aghanim Scepter, so Pulse has 2 charges, does more damage, and more importantly than anything, silences. And the question is, what dispels do they have for Team Spirit? I know EKB is being built for a collapse right now, but still quite a ways away.
It is a big thing for Toronto Tokyo for sure, that he's this far away from solving this Ags. Secret will try to take advantage of this and just look to get on top of him in the fights with Void Spirit. Most of the fights so far that Team Spirit have taken has really been Toronto leading the charge, going in first, finding some sort of vortex, and they try to pile on to that. That's very dangerous now if he doesn't see the Void Spirit, because that's an instant counterplay. Even though you have the status resist of Kayasan, just double silence into RP or some sort of Rubik Lift, Echo Stomp, whatever it is, will definitely kill him off. So has to be very careful with how he approaches this game.
Closing in on a Titanic, not that far away. Yeah, we'll pick up the Reba here pretty soon, and then just a 1,400 flame afterwards. But you can see he is top of the net worth by quite the long shot right now. And he's right now looking for Secret Collapse. All right, we have the steal in from Zion to Collapse. You can see the horn tops as well. Echo Stomp. Look at the layering. Secret is masterfully done. Collapse will get dropped at the result. Yotaro, he actually uses the haunt. His reality rifting all over the place. That's not the ability to make sense of that. Not CK, believe it or not. Fizzle coming in from the high ground. Yotaro getting extremely low. And is burned again. Just a really weird fight from Spirit there. Looks like Makoshka at the very least will be able to live.
I think they're hoping to find Secret caught off guard. Again, they're just tight, they're ready. They have the heroes there, and the opening from Collapse just gets instantly open when they try to help him out. It's just not possible. Like Secret in a way too strong position there. Very easily made quick work of the Marvs, and then Spectre with the Haunt, like you said, maybe.
Horn toss into the RP. Over here to Tokyo. Huge arena. Taking out the
Matumba, okay, swap कर लिया Zai के
and Zai just burning down to Makoshka's Override. So Spirit having a really good defense here. And it's a panic. He is picked up by Matu, but he's stuck in a lot of trouble here, Cinder. And he's going to be brought down as well. Team Spirit They have Nisha in their sights, but you can see the silence coming out to Tokyo, who's not scared to pursue apparently, but probably should be.
Yeah, Nisha can kill him in 5 seconds here if he sticks around. He is thinking about it. He has some power still. All right, looking for him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair and typical.
Sometimes it is.
For Collapse, it feels like it was
True.
Yeah, that was a very good
Spectre there. This was effectively a 4 and 5. Obviously, Secret's hero is not in the best position, and this RP dies platform approach saves there. If not for that, that's a dead storm. They can just start piling on the kills here with the great combination. Another good ice path here. Almost clipped Tumba as well. And honestly, in many ways, Secret
that should help.
That could have even gone worse. Like that was pretty close to losing Matu way earlier in the fight, and then they probably just cleaned up fully. At least now, Team Spirit had to expend quite a lot more resources on him.
You know, he reminds me of
I'm
the dude.
Old.
You've never seen that movie?
Which movie?
The character's named
I haven't seen it.
Okay. Yeah, you didn't even let me finish. Great. As we have a pause here, this is the lower bracket finals, game number 1 between Secret and Team Spirit. And I would say Secret, on paper, is the favorite. But I said that yesterday with IG, and Spirit absolutely destroyed them. Momentum is a crazy thing, something that can't be really quantified, Cinderin.
For sure. Speaking of that, Secret obviously have a lot of it in this game, but that little last fight from Spirit could inspire some hope in them. According to Anki Gaben, a 3-1 favor for Secret right now. 75% win probability is what the algorithm gives them right now. Obviously, the big moment we're looking forward to in this game is the next Roche, which will largely decide a lot of the potential ending of the game around the 30 to 40 minute mark. And Aegis on Terrorblade going high ground here will be really nasty for Spirit to deal with. You saw how hard it is with strong ones. So the second time will prove to be very challenging, but they've done a really good job after a rough start to at least stay afloat. And with the Orchid on Spectre, maybe they have an approach into this game that we should be exploring a little bit more, because he can obviously haunt, and then he can go in and Orchid either the Rubik or the ET. Yapsor's Rubik does have a Ghost Scepter, so he's not going to kill him, but the Elder Titan, he could effectively zone out of the fight pretty much the entire way, or go on the Magnus as well, would be very strong with the Orchid. So again, for Secret, it's really important to, stay close and cover each other against this Orchid from the Spectre. Okay, we're paused, Shannon. You know what time it is.
We're not going to be paused for long, Cinderin. It's too late. You had your chance, but you just kept talking.
I get one question. One question.
Okay, go.
What is the name of the passive of Grove Bow?
There is none. It's a trick question.
Incorrect. It's called Magic Amp. It amplifies magic. You know it has passive.
Wow. That's actually even more boring than I was imagining, and I had low expectations with that question, Cinderin.
Thank you.
Matu in the jungle right now. See, what's next on the list for him? He has the Finnish Satanic that we already saw, has a casual Yasha. Looks like it's going to be BKB.
Bottom tower is under
does he not want Manta or even SNY this game?
I think it could make a case for even finishing a late SNY to get the services, but I think just one power.
Oh, Zai was looking for him.
Didn't get the Horn Toss connection there.
Yeah. He was still on cooldown for 5 seconds.
Maybe he thought he had it.
Here.
He was trying to RP, but I think he was trying to
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Wasn't going to happen. On a Tokyo with the fresh BKB as well. Obviously, will be a much harder target for them to lock down now. And for Secret, you have a couple of... I think
Radiant's middle
right now you want to protect the
attack.
Roshan area and see if you can farm up the Terrorblade's BKB. If you line those two things up, so you have Aegis and BKB going into the next fight, that would be crazy strong. If you aren't able to have both, I think, you could probably have the BKB in the fight will be centered around Roche, so you might need to test the Aegis.
Yeah.
So playing your triangle area right now seems very well advised. Just stay here, make sure you get all the camps on Terror. While you keep pushing out the mid lane as well, and just leave bottom. It doesn't really matter right now at all. They're going to make their own smoke move, though. They're actually not waiting for either BKB or the Roche. Just going for it here. 30 seconds respawn left on Roche. Maybe they want to find a pick and then try to get Roche off of that. If they do find Yatoro, he will not have buyback, so he would be a huge find, but just barely stayed outside the observer board that Secret have down there at the Secret Shop area that's a little bit into the lane for a little bit of a glimpse there. He went right around it on spec.
Radiant's bottom tower
Spirit
is
are
under
kind
attack.
of where that Secret's obviously completely off the map. And Secret don't have vision themselves, so
Roche
probably assuming the
spawn.
Second Roche available for the takings. Whoever wins this fight will like it. I mean, depending on how many are alive, it'd be pretty difficult to take Roche with either lineup still. Require Matu at the very least for Secret.
Speaking of Shard, keep in mind Root bought his. Pretty key item here, I think, to reposition people out of arena. When you get telekinesis, you get height, and if you have height, it's the arena, right? So that's why Slark can pounce out of it. For example, Umbrella can leap.
Yeah.
So I believe now any hero on Secret's lineup will be able to exit as long as they are pinned to the wall. Yapzor can toss them out, and that is a huge amount of damage mitigation technically for any hero in his team. So really cool, creative approach to this. We don't usually see him buy Shard in this spot. Yapzor generally buy bigger items.
Could be interesting to see how that works. We don't get to see that often at all in pro matches.
Dire are scanning.
Toronto Tokyo offering himself up a little bit here, but will back off. And you can tell the tension here. Secret are just staying grouped up as 5 the whole time. And here comes the key item. Matu will be completing the Black King Guard flying out. Sold his one for this, obviously doesn't need the slot anymore, and they will use this BKB to try to claim Roche. He is so insanely far ahead of everyone else in this game on that Terrorblade right now. Palace will go to the bank. Keeps the Titan's liver. No surprise there for Terrorblade.
Indeed.
And into
perfectly
the Roche
crafted for Terrorblade. Yeah, you're right. He's gonna attempt to solo Roche for now.
He effectively double damage when he's empowered with the Titan's liver. That's pretty crazy.
If only he had Shard, it would be even more disgusting in his melee form. But something tells me, Nisha, does he have? He might be taking the Shard off of Roche. Nisha's Shard is quite good.
Spirit, no, this is happening. And they're planning their wait to attack here.
Spear, of course, not quite in range. Poach gets off the ice path. Of course, they had some pretty good zoning capabilities here with Poach. Oh, he's going to get initiated on to start. Toronto Tokyo jumps in with BKB. Can't really find anybody though. Several heroes.
Tumba man is
He's gonna take the damage from Matu instead. Nice. Zai gets in. Looking to score. Guitar will go down. No HOT available, even if he buys. So 2-0 as Collapse looks to be the third. Team Secret is doing a good job of armor toggling, but not good enough here. Cinder in harm's way. Zai able to get to safety here for the moment. Similarly. Looks like Nisha might
50 lads is Void Spirit को जाता तो सही है वो टावर डिस्ट्रक्शन और ब्लास्ट
That is absolutely good. For Mira, a full team.
Last player to be killed हम उसको दिया था रूबिक को दिया था
कैसे executed that really well, but Secret with
हाँ रूबिक ने ये अब्सॉर्ब हाँ तो 3 बार मर चुका है ना लास्ट प्लेयर टू बी किल्ड सबसे लास्ट में मरा पहला टीम फाइट में अच्छा आउट ऑफ द होल 10 सबसे लास्ट में
here's that amazing arena, but the RP and response from Zai buys enough time that
हाँ यही तो है वो ट्रिक वाला क्वेश्चन तो सही से बनाया नहीं है ट्रिक क्वेश्चन नहीं है वो लोग जानबूझ के बनाया है सीक्रेट यहाँ पर जीतते हुए टीम स्पिरिट यहाँ पर एफ हो गया है बायरेक्स टूट गया है नहीं सीक्रेट बहुत जाएगा लॉन्ग हाँ भैया मैं अभी आया हूँ नहीं पता बताइए क्या हुआ था मैच में
Team Spirit on the back foot.
टुम्बा मैन को छोड़ के बाकी सब जो स्टार्टिंग से ही इतना घूम के मारपीट
It looks like it was Nisha as expected,
जब तक
so
टीम स्पिरिट संभलता तब तक उधर से टेरर ब्लेड एकदम फुल फार्म हो गया समझ रहे
gets picked up. That's technically a dieback. Spirit can actually take advantage of this. Toronto Tokyo.
रूबिक भी यहाँ पर और यहाँ पे जाई बहुत बार बहुत अच्छा था मतलब ऐसा नहीं कि बड़ा ग्रुप को आरपी किया एक दो को ही ग्रुप को किया लेकिन क्रूशियल एक दो को ही इतना सही आरपी किया
पूरा except bulwark. Not going to be too happy with that, but Nice pick from Toronto Tokyo. Again, delaying. They're not going to get pushed without Puppy alive, but still 3.5 minutes left in the Aegis. Matu, you would imagine that would just go down mid to top as soon as Puppy will be the short to attacking these barracks. If you wanted to push the top down, it would take you an extra 10 to 15 seconds, which could make a big difference.
Yeah, but Team Spirit have to find a way back in this game. Of course, it is only game 1 of this best of 3, so not a do or die scenario right now. But Matu looks pretty unstoppable. Working on the silver right now that will likely, I mean, it's the Boots or the Asha, depending on if the Aegis is still low. As it looks like Secret is going to smoke up now. And Nisha,
okay.
Goes for the Resonant Pulse in mid-ball opening. Doesn't work that way, sadly. For Secret fans, that is. And Puppy getting harassed a bit. Has the Ghost Scepter to try to live through.
Yep. This could be a really big jump from Zai. Any horn toss on a key target. It's fine. He'll get it.
There's the horn toss on Collapse. Toss to BKB. RP not going to be extended here. Collapse to pop his BKB instead. The RP is extended in the
back lane में देखिए आयो पे टारगेट किया जा रहा है
Collapse is dead, but does have 5.
Used for though, trying to stay alive, so they know
But Zai ने यहाँ पर
मार्क करीना में तो टेरर ब्लेड अब मर गई.
Trying to delay. Collapse will almost certainly have to use his buyback here, but like you said, no ult to work with. Maybe even just getting a set of barracks here.
It's not impossible for them to kill Mafia twice. Their lineup just doesn't have good single target damage against the Terrorblade right now.
Meta is almost down though. Team C want to bide their time here. Still a minute and a half on the Aegis, but that's not going to align really for another meta afterwards. And obviously couldn't even go for Megas to begin with because that tier 2 bot still stands. Nisha is actually going for a Dagon. So going for the blow up build. Has the Eon disc, so can survive if he goes. I mean, I've been seeing Nisha do this a lot where everybody, like Zai jumps in, for example, picks one person up, brings them back into the fray, and then Nisha goes in the front line and just goes for the supports and makes sure that creating all this hack that they can't even do anything about.
I think that's one of the biggest strengths of this hero in general is just control, right? Like we talked a lot about Void Spirit's ability to kill single targets with all the damage from Astral Step and the Resonant Pulse and the whole combo, but in a lot of situations we don't need to specifically kill heroes all the time. You know, he has the Yules that he can now start potentially using offensively because he has disc.
Yeah.
It just makes things so easy for the Magnus and Terrorblade to stop kills in the meantime. Just controls basically the entire enemy team.
Kind of a big deal if there ends up being a fight in the next 3 minutes. Courier was just killed for Toronto Tokyo, and that had the point boost on it. And he has enough to finish the ag, but obviously can't.
Lane clear कर रहा था
breaking style to not have, or upgrade I should say, with the Electric Vortex AoE. And Secret should have some idea that that is the case. Here's Matu.
माना जो डिप्लीट होता है ना वो उसका lightning ball से
working on, I don't know if they're going to get to this point, but assuming an Ags of his own to get that extra meta time and the fear addition. But yeah, 2 exits for Secret.
Over here now.
Looking very, very good in game 1.
माना होता ही नहीं है माना बता रहे
The early respawn is in 2 minutes, but we scanned out Yatoro.
हम खुद खेल के देख चुके हैं माना अभी लाइक कौन सा रहा है
पकड़ा गया
स्पेक्टर में रहा है वो हॉर्न टोल करके बचा है लेकिन अभी तक साइलेंस इसका स्क्यूअर बट मिस हुआ है यहाँ पर जाकिरो ने अपना आइस बॉक्स किया है स्पेक्टर बच चुकी है और यहाँ पर स्पेक्टर को बचाने के लिए मार्स का अरीना भी आ गया है बट सक्सेसफुल एस्केप यहाँ जाकिरो फंस गया है हॉर्न टॉस और साइलेंस और कीज यहाँ पर स्टॉर्म स्प्रेड का बीकेबी ब्लॉक हो गया बीकेबी फिर आएगा 64 सेकंड
is on play. Sai as well as Nisha's discs are used now, but they're going to get Megas off. Yeah, Spirit just aren't ready to fight. So Mega defense attempt here from Team Spirit. Up the horn from Zai. And rolls here pretty shortly. Gets off the man now. Looks like he's going to live for a little bit longer. From Nisha in the meantime. Faithful on the other side. This is going to be a game on here, Cinderin. They are looking extremely warmed up in this game number 1. Yeah, this game is just not really
Dire's middle tower.
and yes, he finally gets the dream steal of the game. I don't the first time in the game he's had it, it kind of feels like it, but it has that level 4 ice path with Max Arcane Supremacy. Effectively turning this into what's that, over a 3
Dire's middle tower.
I have hope and wisdom on your side.
minutes. They're doing great in their lanes. Spirit, when they do get their levels on the heroes that need to make the plays, they just aren't able to. Secret just one step ahead every time. They have the right amount of heroes for the plays. I think especially both Puppy and Yapsor just doing some really, really good hero placements on the map, right?
Yeah.
From our perspective, it might look easy because every time Spirit go for a move, they're ready to counterplay. The challenge in this isn't necessarily the spell casting, it's being there. It's reading the map, knowing that you need to cover these exact angles at these exact times, and just a masterclass from Secret in how to play around your cores, really. So, very nice job.
Team Spirit's Cinderella run is at risk of being stopped here in the next game, Cinderin. But Team Secret take a 1-0 start to this best of 3 lower bracket. Let's see what the panel has to say about this performance from Secret.
Thank you very much, Sunspan and Cinderin. Let's start with the draft for this one, because I think one of the things that often happens when teams are facing Spirit is they go, okay, right, we're going to target Mars. Well, we're going to target Collapse's Mars, not let him have the hero that is really his signature. Or they're going, oh, maybe we should try and target Yatoro. But what we saw with the first round of bans from Team Secret was actually targeting the Poshka Purge. And they take out his Winter Wyvern and they took out his signature hero, Bane. And it seems to be that that's really where Spirit's troubles began.
It definitely hurt them a bit, and it's kind of a continuation of how other teams have tried to beat Spirit. They said, oh, well, we'll ban all Collapse's best 2 heroes, then he dominates with Mag. And now they finally get to do it against Maposhka. Instead, they put him on Jakiro, and while Jakiro is an effective hero, he's not the laning dominator maybe that some of the other guys are. And also the other crucial thing, he maxed out Ice Path. It makes their mid-game really strong. But laning stage, he just doesn't do nearly as much damage with Dual Breath, which makes the game harder too. So it was a cool way to push them on the back foot, and it definitely made their lanes weaker than they should have been.
Do you think that Spirit were probably like, oh, hang on a second, we've got our favorite duo available. We can just get the IO, we can just get the Mars. This is going to be great, guys. This is going to be a shellacking from our side. Effie?
I think you definitely go into every Dota game that you play with a certain idea, right? And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. For me, the biggest thing that stood out was just giving away Magnus. I think after the last couple of days, you just either try to take it for yourselves or you ban it out, because it makes the way that you have to navigate fights very different. And it's all very subtle things that we can't really see per se, but you have to always be careful of your positioning, where you're standing. And that game was insane. It was fight after fight. And the spellcasting was ridiculous from both ends, but I don't particularly want to blame the draft alone, but I do think that they could have changed it up a little bit. And while Jakiro is a hero that's capable of fighting a lot, it's just not that good at the moment, I would say. He has his very niche moments, but I don't know. I just want to take it back to something that was said about the first 10 minutes. I think that Nisha's ability to just control the tempo of this entire game is actually what set up Secret.
They really set him up for a really good game. Nisha was having a good time in the mid lane, staying almost a full 1,000 gold ahead of Toronto Tokyo's Storm Spirit, and just playing from behind on the Storm. Yeah, they made him some stacks, but it was not enough. The movements, and to go back to the amplifying your carry, because if you look at you have Io. Io is not a hero that wants to play with Spectre that much compared to Magnus, who provides you that extra damage, provides you cleave when you're in a melee form, and also going for that Solar Crest, which is, kind of a big deal as well. And you have ET on your own team.
Yeah, and just to add on to that point, like, outside of not having the most synergetic kind of carry for Io to play with, if a Void Spirit has that kind of game, you're in danger all the time as an Io. It is so hard to live through such a big Void Spirit.
Yatoro just seems to be having so much fun with the different carries that he's playing, though. At this stage, he's now played 13 heroes in 13 main event games. So the question is he going to be going for a pick we've seen before for this next game?
They might just pick another hero for him if it's available, because for the long duration of time, there has been this meta carry where you try to counter a certain lineup with just picking stuff. How do you counter this? Like, you don't know what he's gonna play. It's very hard to focus on him. It's very hard to go into this matchup and try to prepare anything, because you have no idea what he's gonna play. But there's also a bit of an extra spice coming into this matchup, because you have Toronto Tokyo in one of the pub games. He said to Matumba, man, see you at TI. It's gonna be 2-0 for us in 20 minutes. So far it didn't happen, so I want to see them bounce back.
Can I just shout out to production, you the real MVP, for trying to get that Spectre to fit somewhere on the graphic. It was also predicted by the draft panel that Secret just had this late game unbeatable damage. Was there a point where just Spirit didn't have the availability to come back, or did you maintain hope, Purge?
The last 20 minutes of fights looked hard, because you want to kill Terrorblade, but they didn't quite have the best disables to do it. Like, if Mars gets on him and they spear combo him and they jump on him, it can kind of work, but the Spectre versus TB matchup isn't very great for Spectre at many stages unless you get really far ahead, and there's always the threat that he's going to sunder somebody, so it's there's just a lot more danger when you're trying to get those really important kills. And the other thing was that they just kept chasing around the Void Spirit consistently. Like, Storm jumps on him, tries to catch him, he casts Dissimulate, then he jumps this way, then he jumps that way. You spend all this time chasing the guy, but it's you also need to kill TB in the meantime, because he's killing somebody else on your team.
So they picked the wrong target.
Yeah, I can see what Team Spirit decided to go for with this kind of a draft, having a global presence with Io, Storm, and Spectre. But the Team Spirit heroes, Team Secret heroes were really good at just standing the ground and taking a fight. You have this, super farm TB who can always use the Sunder, and Spectre, as you mentioned, it's really not a good matchup against the Spectre into TB, into ET as well. Also, one cool play there is Puppy. He was holding a Fang Grenade. Usually we see Shaker, who is the one, the primarily one. This might be even a better one. The two supports, they die in one hit plus Fey Grenade.
Effie.
Yeah, no. So I wouldn't say that they picked the wrong target. It's just that there were too many targets, really, because, again, going back to that lead that they got in the first 10 minutes, typically you don't want your games to go that way against lineups that can snowball. And just to take it back a little bit, we were talking about the Magnus factor. Just the hero's existence and the way to play around him makes it so that the fights are always going to be a little bit awkward for you. Who you're going to go on, where you're going to take it, right? These things that we don't see may look a little bit objectively like, oh, why this guy? But that's just the strength of that hero. It's a very subtle kind of threat on the map all the time.
Well, while Team Spirit may have somewhat limited experience here at the International, their opponents, Team Secret, have been here countless times before. So let's find out some of their favorite memories.
My favorite memory from International that I myself attended, you could always say that it was TI7, the grand finals, but really I felt like it was the turning point for me in that particular tournament was our series against Virtus Pro in the lower bracket.
GG, well played. VP realized the truth. The truth is Team Liquid will eliminate them from the International and advance forward into the next round of the lower bracket.
After that, it was kind of meant to be to win the whole thing. For me, yeah, they're kind of intertwined, these two moments for me.
One of my favorite memories is obviously that I won the TI that I played in. So the first one, I mean, hands down, obviously, comparison to the losses of the other ones. The feel of TI1 was that it was definitely unique. Some things felt very professional, some things did not. The Chinese, they started a strategy, which was every time you died, they would make loud noises on their desk. They would hit it so hard that you would feel it from in the other booth because the desks were connected. And so they said, don't do that. We also, started kind of jumping around every time they died, or because they would see us. They would literally see us when we would kill them and jump around in our booth. So yeah, they kind of put garbage bags on the windows so you wouldn't be able to see. So no noise, didn't see the enemy, and that's that's how it went down.
Well, Puppy, don't worry. We're into recycling and keeping litter at bay here, so I expect if there's any mess in your booth, it's on you, son. All right then. Secret looked hot to trot in that match against Spirit. Clearly, they've been doing their homework. They've been seeing everything that Spirit have been throwing at their opponents. Is there anything now that Spirit can do on the flip side, maybe to try and exploit some chinks in Secret's armor? Effie?
I mean, well, all I can say about Secret right now is they are on their A game right now, just looking at that game one, and Spirit have to be very, very careful about giving away certain heroes, I would say. And I don't want to make everything about Magnus, but he really has been the hero of the last few days. And I think if they just address what they're going to do with perhaps the Magnus and the Tiny and the Mars, and which one they place more priority to, and to just make sure that they don't get sloppy in the early game, they definitely have a chance to strike back. And losing one game, it may have offset their momentum a little bit, but I do think they're capable. They just kind of need to take a deep breath and regroup here.
Well, the teams are taking to the stage now, casual as you like, for Team Secret, but they have the upper hand in this best-of-3 series, and they know it. They are so confident as they head into their player booth. But Team Spirit, when they came to this tournament, they were expected to maybe make it to, obviously make it to the main stage, but top 3, they surprised us all, and they would be more than delighted to surprise Team Secret today. Now, we didn't get a chance to talk about it much earlier, but Team Spirit and Team Secret boast these incredible, electrifying, flashy carry players. How do you expect this next Natu and Yutoro matchup to go, Lacoste?
I mean, Matu has been looking really stable. I believe he has 4 out of 4 wins on Tiny. One of the also comfort heroes that he played really well is Ursa, even though it's only 50% win rate so far. At the TI, I like the aggression that they make with the hero. Usually when they are playing Radiant, you need to ban it out because of always that Roshan threat that he provides. And Matu, I mean, it's just, Matu kind of a style where he will find the farm. He will play with the team. One of the reasons why he is so farmed is because they enable him. They enable him so much, and also their offlaner Zai doesn't take that much farm on the map. One of the reasons why Matu gets a bit more, and also Yapsor.
It's an interesting point that you make then about the farm, because that's one of the things that I learned first about Team Secret is they're a team that is much more flexible, it sounds, in their farm priority than other teams, Effie.
Yeah, it feels like sometimes they just kind of create gold out of nowhere when you're watching a Team Secret game. But I think that just goes back down to their strengths of being able to play defensively when they have to and being able to hold their farming areas, right? Team Secret play best in situations where the enemy kind of feel pressured because they're all farming so much and they run into them, so they make a mistake, right? And that just comes from their ability to read the map better than others, maybe due to experience, due to Puppy's leadership, but it just feels like when it comes to map movements, they have that down more than any other team.
And Paj, how would you compare Collapse to Zai? Because Zai has so much experience. He's clearly one of the most intimidatingly clever players I think I've come across so far. And then you have Collapse, who we can see on screen right now. So maybe they'll talk about him on the draft panel.
Team Spirit! versus Team Secret. Game 2.
Hello, hello. We're here live with draft number 2. I have my 2 stellar panelists. You can turn around now so you can see the draft. Okay. Great, wonderful, thank you. What great direction. And we're here ready for game number 2 between Team Spirit and Team Secret. PS, yesterday, sorry, before you gave us a great rundown. What the game would happen in the game. As you said, Team Secret just used to hold down in the beginning, and then later on they were able to come on.
Yeah,
I think that's what happened.
You saw the Team Spirit's team fight, despite their fact that they were down by 7K, 8K gold, they were still able to get some crucial kills and some crazy ice paths from Maposhka that I think kept them in the game. But that early momentum, I think that first death in the lane by Collapse was very detrimental for them, because in the mid game, his job is to set up all the plays, Storm Spirit to follow up, Spectre to follow up. They had a lot of follow-up, but he was forced to be defending his mid tower rather than playing on Secret's part of the map, and you just saw that's how they accrued a massive lead.
There's a lot of Spirit team fighting too. I think a big thing that we thought during the draft that they were going to do was kind of play the map more. But it really is in Team Spirit's style to just run at you and kill you in team fights. So perhaps lean more towards like team fighting heroes in this game is an option for them. Not that Mars is particularly bad at team fighting or anything, maybe a little bit more.
But if we're talking about the style of Team Spirit, we always think of them as group around the mid game timing, win a strong carry, team fight as much as you can, and win the 5-on-5 engagements. And that is not what this draft looked like. So are you saying that we want to go back to basics, Jenkins?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's fair. You know, Wisp being banned out perhaps makes the Mars a little bit less of an option that's appealing. Perhaps Tidehunter could come out.
There you go.
Yeah, we got a Magnus on Team Secret, of course, looked great in the previous game, even against a hero that's considered to be somewhat of a hard counter in the Spectre, or definitely a hard counter. It's just that this new style of Magnus that people are playing, it's not necessarily countered by Spectre in the same way. Like, Magnus isn't really about team fighting or just team fighting anymore. It's also about the repositioning element and pickoffs.
We got it.
There it is. Okay.
So now, what do we do against a Tide, PSJ?
You want some way to easily counter the Kraken Shell. We've seen Silver Edges, we saw the PA. I'd say Disruptor's a worthwhile candidate here. Doom is probably not on the table here, because you would have like a shown mid lane and off lane first two picks. But just straightforward, the ease of execution, we use this spell or this combination to kill the Tide. Seems like Team Secret, like yes, they're going to value strategical advantage, but ease of execution is always something you want to consider at this main stage of TI.
Enchantress, okay, well this is... I think Secret is the most successful team with this hero. They absolutely snowball the lanes with Enchantress and then just have a monstrous mid-game. And I would assume that Spirit has some sort of preparation for this, that they're going to be second phase picking, or maybe they think that this Tide hero, the way that he team fights, the way that he groups up early is something that can deal with an Enchantress. And he can stand in front of a tower, for example, and not get pushed early.
I don't know how much in trouble I'll get for talking about what Seb said behind the scenes, but the offlane meta is Helm of Iron Will right now. Pretty much every offlaner is either building Armlet or Helm of the Dominator, which allows them to get that early sustain to 6 armor and 6 HP regen from such a cost-effective item. And what that does is it allows the 4th position, in this case the Lion, to roam on mid and give a lot of momentum to the mid laners, such as these Spirits, the Storm Spirits, the Ember Spirits. And what Enchantress is so good at, that most other 5s cannot do, is she can harass the offlaner through the armor that the Helm of Iron Will gives you. The impetus is pure damage, and she also does a lot of harassment early game, which delays your ability to get that Helm of Iron Will. If you saw last game, Zai, he went for the Tango Quelling Blade straight into the Helm of Iron Will, and that's a kind of build that a lot of offlaners want to go for, but it's quite difficult against a hero like Enchantress, who's so powerful early, and then also breaks down that timing with the impetus.
It's a kill hero as well, right? So if you have anybody else show up with an Enchantress in the lane, like 4 position, Spirit, like any 4 position, you're going to get a kill on the Tidehunter. And then you also, like if there's a carry, you and the carry alone can kill the Tidehunter, just because there's so much damage. There's a creep to go in front and body block. You know, you can enchant, which of course can be pushed off, but the Purge is not that good in the early game because it requires so much HP. So that's not super effective.
Cheating के
So
अलावा कुछ और
the Enchanter has become quite popular for Secret, but we haven't really seen other teams pick up this strategy too much. What is it that makes it so special about this team?
You just have to be an Enchantress master. She's not a hero you see some other team pick, and you're like, oh, we can try that out. It's going to work. We were talking about how many permutations of the map that you can play purely based on the creep you get. You know, if you get a Wildkin, you're going to look to pressure towers. If you get the Hellbear Smasher or the Centaur, you might be ganking with it. If you get the Satyr, you might be harassing or burning their mana with the blue one. Yeah, it's like there's so many different things you can choose to do purely based on the RNG of the camps. And it's not a matter of which one's better than the other. It's like, okay, I've got this iteration. What am I going to do with it?
There was a point in the NADPC where I remember that Enchantress had quite a low win rate, and the pub win rate was like 42%, too, pro level pub win rate. And then people started copying like the Puppy and some of these like European teams rotating towards the mid tower at 5 minutes, where a creep with that much armor is too strong for a lot of lineups to deal with. It's like the earliest tower pushing timing that you can really get out of that enchant. And then the win rate skyrocketed in DPC, and then it skyrocketed in pubs as well from that single rotation, because the earlier you do a rotation, the more impact it has because of the butterfly effect on the game. And so I think it's little things like that that make good Enchantress players good at the hero. Tanking the tower with your heal, things like that.
So while most people would consider this hero a micro-intensive, very mechanical hero, you're talking about the tactical.
Yeah, it's super macro. It's actually a very easy hero to play. I mean, you're microing one thing. Yeah, and you can just send it down a lane, and it's really about, like I said, like using the catapult timings, and then late game you're just kind of walking in and dying and then buying back if you're Puppy.
I think this is a really cool pick for Willow because it's a support that can solo kill Enchantress with even just like a +1 stun, and she might even be able to do it with just the Bramble, but the Bedlam doesn't get slowed down by Untouchable, even though it is technically attacking. But Team Secret also is likely to take a Spirit Hero for all the reasons I talked about with Enchantress, and you could potentially do Willow Puck, which the Terrorize Fear combo with the Coil on 4th pick for Spirit. So I think they're setting up some potential, like, 5-head, this is what you're going to pick, we know what you're going to pick, pigeonholing you into a specific hero, and being ready to deal with it.
And the comfort pick as well, because that's Miroslav's best hero traditionally.
I like the Willow here too because it's a Yule's buyer and a 4-step buyer versus the Magnus, so it gives you some sort of way of dealing with the horn toss, which I think a lot of people, that's the thing that they're questioning, like, okay, how do we deal with this hero? It's not really, let's pick purges and dispel the RP. Nobody cares about the RP anymore, it barely matters. It's all about that horn toss. So a hero that can pick up both of those items and a hero that will also get in there where you can Yule somebody, because it's a pretty short range. And there are other heroes that might pick up Yules, but like Willow goes in the fight because she can press W and she's just immune to everything.
Wouldn't you be able to also set up the Bramble Maze in a defensive way so that Magnus can't just jump?
Even if he's through, like he gets stuck in one of the Brambles and it gives you some sort of follow-up, some way of killing him. Yeah, for sure.
You get the Juggernaut now for Team Secret. What's the reason behind this pick?
It's just so good against Willow specifically. It's a Jug Mag combo. Yeah, it's just a free Jug game as of now, and it's similar to what we saw last game with Natu's Terrorblade, is they had to pick heroes that killed it after the draft. So it's a hero that its innate survivability mechanic has not been dealt with, which makes it so there's much more limitation. Like, I wouldn't want to pick Puck now if I'm Team Spirit. I wouldn't want to do that combination because Jug's one of the few heroes that can get coiled and not really care for the majority of the game.
Oh man, okay.
That's a combo.
Yeah, imagine a Grimstroke. Okay, like if you name the 2 most difficult lanes to lane against as a Tidehunter or even generic offlaner, Juggernauts in both of them, and then it's probably Grim Jug and probably Enchantress Jug as well. The only other here is like maybe CM or Jug. Lich Jug, something like that. But I think both of these heroes are worse than Lich, though. Like, you basically have the 2 strongest Jug lane pairings. If there's ever a rotation to this safe lane, it's like a guaranteed kill. And I don't even think it's necessary to have a rotation to the safe lane, because Ench Jug will dumpster a Tide. So I'm curious to see how Team Spirit deals with this.
There's the Morphling. Good job, ESJ.
Now that the combination's off the table, this is the first duplicate hero, by the way, for Yatoro throughout the entire main event. Something to keep in mind. He did cap out at 13. The
dire straits now.
Maybe the millions of dollars potential is better than the memes of picking a different hero every single game, but...
You mean the pride of winning TI, because they don't think about the money. Players have never thought about it.
Sorry, the pride of winning TI. And I think what I want to see from Team Secret here is that Magnus has really no way to pressure Morphling in lane as he gets like level 3 or 4. So I would expect them to start the Grimstroke top and then When we talked about the Helm of Iron will timing, where Mag, he's not going to pressure the Morphling, but he's going to do his own thing. He's going to survive on his own. They'll rotate to the Jug lane in order to get him the momentum with that Ink Swell. So that's a specific rotation that I'm looking out for Team Secret.
I want to make a point, if we go back earlier about Grimstroke Jug, that most people stop playing Grimstroke because of the Inkswell change, I guess, right? Where now it takes longer to get the stun off.
Yeah.
But this might be the one combination where it's actually beneficial, because getting the movement speed buff on Jug for longer, especially against heroes like Tide.
Yeah, well, you get longer spin on them, and then
Exactly.
it's like the spin you're not hitting anyway, so they don't need to be stunned. You're just click move it. You're just moving on them. That's literally it. Yeah, it's really strong. I'm worried though for Spirit that they do get a Morphling illusion from this Grimstroke that presumably is going to be a 4 position here. So that will be a very early Morph illusion. But then on the flip side, the Willow Morph combination doesn't exactly have great counters in general, just because it's one of those like extremely strong combos. A lot of teams were first facing it for a while for that reason, because it requires like an entire draft to counter. So just getting a Morphling illusion is not like, oh, the game is over by any means.
They also have the budget disruptor from Grimstroke, the Phantom from his second ability cannot be dispelled by Tidehunter, Kraken Shell. So that's true. You can afford to use that in fights. It'll buy you an extra couple seconds that he's going to have to use to hit that bug off. And that might be just enough for them to ignore the Tide long enough to bring down some crucial targets like the Morphling.
I do think with this draft for Team Spirit, if this goes to like 30 plus minutes, they could completely crush Team Secret, at least with these current heroes that we're seeing here. There is the Mag and Jug, where you're gonna have the Empower, so there will be like a presumable item advantage. But if these two teams are on an even playing field, and it's 30 minutes, and they have the Willow Morph, there is nothing currently to deal with that. And they're gonna do enough damage to completely obliterate a Jug. Like, what is Jug gonna Omni-Slash a Morphling? He's got 6 different ways of getting out of it. He just becomes the Willow and presses W, and then he's fine.
I expect the Jug to probably go Diffusal this game. It's so good against both of the supports. Even though Willow, you won't be able to hit her, you can do full damage to her through the spin. One of the few carries that can do that. But then also just the mana burn against Morphling now, the fact that Morph takes mana as attribute shift.
Diffusal Blade क्या करते हैं?
You spin on the Tide, you drain his mana, and it's like you don't even need to kill him. He just has no mana.
I wouldn't be surprised by like Yasha or Falcon Blade into the Diffusal.
Yep, sure.
Just to ramp up the pace, like you said, because once it gets to that stage of the game, Team Spirit's representing the same threat that they had last game with this immense amount of team fight, like 1 or 2 item timings. But then you saw Secret, they're all about that laning stage dominance, turning it into a mid-game dominance.
There's the final Spirit here that we were talking about.
Diffusal Blade is actually good against our pub match as well as Necroforce.
Probably the best Spirit hero you could run here against a potential puck counter.
Yeah, for sure. Because you can get the Yules, which of course you can set up for the puck.
You can phase shift with your Remnant.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. It also pairs really nicely with the Grimstroke, because you can put the bubble onto Nisha, it runs in, gets that huge stun duration. And then on top of that, I think that Team Secret needed an incredibly active hero. Like Storm Spirit is active, but at like a later point than Void Spirit. And between all of these heroes that they have here on Team Secret, once again, there were a lot of plus ones. There's a lot of heroes that want to do stuff, but they don't want to be the one that's going in first. And so Void Spirit is probably the best hero at doing that, at least in terms of the earliest.
Your mid tower is going to get dove on Team Spirit so early. The Void Spirit was like a little bit of that oomph that they needed from the mid lane to enable the Ink Swell as well as the Enchantress rotating. So whatever hero this is, Kunkka, I like that. You probably needed more of a frontliner, more of a hero that doesn't mind having heroes running him. He free farms pretty much against Void Spirit. The only heroes Kunkka struggles in laning against are ones that prevent him from continuously walking up and Tidebringing the creeps. So I think that's really good for them here, but it's a matter of it's those first 2 rotations I'm looking out for from the Secret supports. The first rotation of Jug's lane in order to kill Collapse with the Ink Swell, and then the second one diving Tokyo's mid tower. So if either of these cores on Team Spirit suffer early, I don't think the Morphling's gonna have time to get to his Acceptor timing.
And not only does Team Spirit have the lore going on, where they have Tidehunter Kunkka, and then they have the water in the Morphling.
Wow. Yes.
Also,
that's very good.
Tidehunter and Kunkka, it's very disruptive in team fights. I don't know if you guys have fought against Double Ravage and Torrent Storm in a game, but it feels like you're just always stunned. You can't walk into fights, and you can't even get a BKB or have Jug Spin or anything like that, because it just covers too much. If Spirit goes late game, it's an easy game.
Well, we're going to see what Secret's coach thinks, as Sir Action Slacks is there in the sidelines about to ask Heen some questions.
Thank you, sir. Action select Suns favor with Cinder. We got game number 2 of this best of 3. This is going to be a good, juicy game. I can feel it.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you?
Yes, I feel it.
Start हुआ कि नहीं हुआ? Hello? Start हो
Teams are
गया?
going to be playing very, very differently. And interestingly enough, it's kind of... It's not really a game exactly, but the team that feels more on a timer is now on the other side, right? In the last game we were debating, okay, Team Spirit, you know, you're going to look for these skirmishy fights, you're going to try to play fast, and Secret will eventually outmatch you and have stronger team fight in late game. This time around, it might be the other way around.
Will there be teleporters? No.
Need to play a little bit faster, probably.
6 to 10
The
number
good
of
news with Secret is when it comes to winning early games, there is a guy on a hero
amount of physical damage
that has
वाला
a very
होगा
high impact in
1001
general when it
plus.
comes to that. Puppy on the
टाइम देख लिया था और नहीं किया
नहीं
क्योंकि उनका है ना ऑपोजिट में मॉर्फलिंग भी
उनका भी है
अच्छा टोटल नंबर ऑफ टावर्ड किल्ड वो क्या होता है टावर्ड किल्ड मतलब
कितना टावर गिरेगा
मतलब 6 टावर है ना स्टार्टिंग का 6 टावर गिरना चाहिए
30 seconds to battle.
He'll be able to walk
वैसे तो हमको लग रहा 5 गिरेगा
हमको भी वही फीलिंग आ रहा है. I would assume. Not sure if Team Spirit's going to stick around.
एक लेन को लोग नहीं पुश करता है कोई एक लेन जो बहुत बेकार गया ना वो लेन को पुश ही नहीं करेगा लोग.
So looking at the lineup
0 से 5 कर देगा
Dark Willow, that is
क्योंकि मेरा ये पहले गलती हुआ था 25 वाला पहले भी आया था ये बस
as Earthshaker, but it's close.
एक ही लेन को पुश करते रहेगा बोलो ओ बाबा ये तो टाइट हैंड तक पूरा घुस ही है चला
into a Blade Fury. Matu gets first blood for Team Secret. Spirit were just not expecting Secret to have rotated over there and planted so many heroes, and he just walks straight into it. Usually as Tide, you feel pretty confident level 1.
अब तो ये फिनाले भी है ना तो I think was a safe खेलेगा
as well as Ench. And of course you had the Grimstroke.
नहीं नहीं सेमीफाइनल है सेमीफाइनल है मतलब
the temptation of skilling
हाँ वही सेमीफाइनल ही
needed. So he goes to lane with Stroke of Fate, which is
लोअर ब्रैकेट का फाइनल है.
You just want to push in
Grand final.
Open up for pulls. Also a better trading spell for him against the line of Viposhka. They're going to be hitting each other a bit here in the bot lane.
Mid lane, they already discussed, but it is the Kunkka versus Void Spirit matchup. Toronto Tokyo versus Nisha. Kunkka, typically very good against melee heroes. You agree with the panel on this matchup overall?
He's favored in this lane. I think it was PSGLGD that ran it twice as well against, I don't think it was it Void Spirit in one of the games? I don't remember. They ran it as well.
Valorant rank
Success with nothing to say on the Kunkka against one of the melee spirits. So, yeah, expecting Toronto Tokyo to pull in here. Obviously has the added luxury of being able to very quickly farm small camps on the side.
हम फोटो शेयर किए थे वो देखा
Take this, come back to lane, get even outscale the Void Spirit in terms of the farming capability on the side camp as well. Void Spirit isn't as good at it early on. He will eventually be equally quick.
Why are you guys
But in the beginning,
planting
Nisha will be playing at that
when
disadvantage.
there's TI happening?
That absolute nuisance that you were talking about earlier has
We rather lose than learn.
finally runs out, but in addition to the Blightstone that he started the game with, just
इस साल कौन सी जमाना में था अभी का था रिसेंटली का था
Do the pull. Okay. Gets a 3 creep pull, which is this is the small camp you want to see if you're looking to deny a wave. The ghost camp is very, very good at killing the creep wave, and he's going to protect it as well with his own hero, as well as one little skelly boy running after Mira here. And now he's going to go and take a golem.
Golem time. There's first stun coming out. As Mira just going to
continue
here,
भैया
but this is kind of what he has to do. Bramble. All right.
आवत है कि नहीं आवत है
Blocks on it. All right.
I could smash your saccharine face over and over.
The tip ensues.
That was just flat out a rare mistake there from Puppy. Usually very mechanically skilled support player, but Mouse was not working as intended there as he walked into 2 brambles. I think the first one might have been undodgeable, but the second one definitely wasn't.
Mouse was not working, and potentially his monitor if it continues to go down that road, Cinder. We've seen that before.
When I did play the show match yesterday, my monitor did go black, so maybe that's what happened. There, but he's definitely back.
अच्छा भैया ताकेंगे कि आप देखेंगे हेलो
ताकेंगे कि देखेंगे
खेलेंगे कि ताकेंगे
Good friends, guys. Very good friends.
Okay. believe you.
चलिए ना डोटा खेलते हैं बेकार का देख के काम फायदा है लो
About how the Phantom's embrace is really getting inside because they can't.
बात तो सही है
What about like late game matches with like dark
क्या ये वाले का अभी अभी स्ट्रीम चल रही
Something Yapsor will be considering.
हम लोग का स्ट्रीम दिखाइएगा ना अच्छा
Portrait,
प्रोफेशनल स्ट्रीमर है हम लोग
can't really hit it with stuff from